Hey guys, this is Michelle from Half the National Average, and I'm waiting for that little tiny pup Talladega Nights to come out of that room. I usually close that door, but I didn't want her to be afraid because she's in there afraid. Just because there's a lot of big booms and some helicopters and some stuff going on outside. So, sorry for the big dark hole behind me. Okay, so I'm here with Half the National Average habit hack number 73, and I am going to give you the title. This one is called, I have quite a few notes on this one because I've really been thinking a lot. First of all, tiny tirade, which is not new. I'm hoping that people can get through, not people, let's just say my close people, that they can get through the conversation that I'm having with some of these hacks. I'm sure they understand, like the bigger pictures, because when you're working on a habit and you're creating a habit for a long period of time, all of those lessons, if they're true, if there is truth to something, it will translate into every conversation. So a truth is a truth only if it's a truth. If it's a truth that only fits in one little tiny category but doesn't apply anywhere else, then generally it's not a truth. So when I was talking, yesterday about the intensity and the big explosion of power that comes when there is an immediate frustration of something you have in your life, and then the petering off of it and not being able to stick to it, like a habit, like something that you're trying to accomplish, like school, like a job, like a project, like a rage for master. All of those things are internal drives. Now, today's habit hack is don't turn away. And I don't think it means what you think it means. So some of the research that I'm going to tell you about today is it's John Gottman. And John Gottman is a psychologist, psychiatrist. No, he's a psychologist. And he had two books that, I don't know if you're interested in the research, two of the books that he wrote. His most famous one is The 7 Principles for Making Marriage Work, and he also wrote The Relationship Cure. The main thing he's known for, so let me just give you the 911 or the 411, I guess it would be right now. All we're thinking about, well, I'm thinking about 911. I just want to have 911 still available, people, to me. So the 411 on some of his research is he has researched relationships for 4 decades. And I think one of his most interesting kind of research, he had this thing, it was like, I call it the jiggle machine. I mean, I thought I read somewhere, I was trying to find I kept Googling the jiggle machine and it was like all these exercise things. So I was like, I remember reading about the jiggle machine, but he does call his lab the love lab because he studies love and he studies specifically divorce. And he has done, I think, 4 different studies over the course of 4 decades. He has replicated it. And again, there's controversy with everything, but you can look up the research if you want. John Gottman. It's like John Gotti. That's the way I always remember him. He sounds like a mafioso, but he's actually a very Orthodox Jew. And his research is like way TMI. But anyway, his research studies relationships, and he had this platform and he would videotape conversations of couples, and then he would go back and then you'd also monitor their heart rate, their pulse, their temperature, and when they jiggled. So usually when people get really nervous, there's movement, because movement has to do with stress or frustration. It takes amazing amount of dedication and control and power to be calm. Movement is easy. Anger is movement. Children have a lot of movement. they have no parameters, no discipline, no, just movement. That's an easy thing. So he studied movement of the jiggle machine or the jiggle platform. And then he also took all the conversation, and it wasn't fighting, just all the conversation. And then there were 20 different aspects of emotion. And then each word that the person used, both sides would get a number attached to the word. So let's say in one study, one of the studies, the person was talking about a dog. And actually in Blink, you know what? Hawaii Modern, I think this is in Blink. So if you read Blink, you're going to find this Gottman. That's where I first heard about John Gottman. Anyway, so you'll get a score based on all the different emotions you go through when you go in a relationship. Now, why is that important? Because he could predict with 90% accuracy if somebody was going to be divorced within 10 years. 90% accuracy. Now, I think that's pretty freaking high. There's even thoughts of like, should you go see John Gottman and have him analyze your relationship before you get married? To see if you should do a prenup, right? But anyway, 90%. And then he did it again in 2000, and it was an 87.4% accuracy. So within 15 minutes of conversation. So why is that important? Because language matters. And if you're creating a habit for the rest of your life, the way you talk about your habit, to yourself about your habit, is really going to matter whether you can stay married to that habit or you are going to divorce that habit. Now, let me give you some of the four. He calls it the four horsemen of fighting. I liked that terminology. So these are the four big critical sins in relationships, and the four critical, and again, like I said, think through. If a truth is a truth, then it's going to be true in a social setting. It's going to be true in a habit setting. It's going to be true in a relationship setting. It's going to be true in friendship settings, marriage settings, and it could create a divorce of thought, a divorce of connectedness, a divorce of wanting to stick with your habit. Or the other side of what he tries to teach is it could create connectivity, it could create cohesiveness, and it could create some understanding that a lot of times people think anger and conflict are the reasons that people are unhappy. And all of his study his research says that is not true. Anger and conflict are not what make people happy. There's a lot of, there's a percentage, it's like 69% of all long-term marriages still have anger and conflict. And some of that conflict is all the way from the beginning, but they don't let it stop them from moving forward. And they don't argue about it in aggressive, mean, terrible ways. So let me give you the four. And let's see if you can think possibly, if you've seen it anywhere in your life, with your habits. All right, the first one is criticism. So when you criticize somebody's personality, that is one of the top four things that will create a divorce in a relationship, a divorce in thought, a divorce from your habit. Contempt from a position of superiority. And these are all ways that somebody speaks or acts towards another person. Defensiveness, and then stonewalling. So those are the four: criticism, contempt, defensiveness, and stonewalling. Now, stonewalling is usually a withdrawal from being over criticized. Now, how many people have we seen right now who have completely withdrawn because of the over criticism that is happening just in this world? I took a week off because I was like, I have to step away. But again, if it's dealing with your habit, which that's what I'm talking about, if you are using criticism, if you have contempt toward anything about your habit, if you are defensive about people either talking about your habit or you dealing with your habit or some aspect of your habit, if you're embarrassed about your habit that you're trying to create, or if you're stonewalling your habit, you're not going to be able to stick to it. So what he talks about, which I think is amazing, let me see what time. Oh my gosh. It's impossible to get all of this in, is you need to work on increasing affection, respect, closeness, and you have to stay calm. You have to stay calm. calmness in conflict has shown in all of the research that is actually what helps people get past some of these 4 critical, what he calls horsemen. Now, some of the things, now this is the last thing I'm going to talk about, and this is probably going to have to be on, if you're watching this one, it's going to be on Facebook because it's way past Instagram time. But this is interesting because people that get divorced very quickly, they suffer from the 4 horsemen of bad fighting. So fighting with a lot of criticism, fighting from contempt, from a standpoint of superiority, fighting with, or stonewalling, and what was the other one I just said? And defensiveness. So usually you're defensive and then somebody will say something and then now you repeat that word over and over and over again to yourself. So think about this as a habit. In habit hack number 73, if you are doing any of these things in the language that you're using, every time you do your little tiny frequency practice, you're telling your brain to be fearful of it. And you won't be able to accomplish it. Now, if you're doing this in a relationship, that's a whole nother thing. If you're doing it in friendship, that's a whole nother thing. And if you're doing it to try to create social change, that's a whole nother thing. But none of those aspects are going to be successful if you're using these 4 tactics. And if a truth is a truth is a truth is a truth. It's a truth. So small, weird, but very relevant habit hack number 73, especially in the times that are happening today. I get all the sides. I can see all the sides, but until, I'm not even going to talk about it. I'm not even going to talk about that because this is about habits and I don't even want to engage. Am I stonewalling? I don't know. But that's because of so much contempt and superiority, and maybe I am a little defensive, I don't know. But stick with your habits, treat them nice, talk nicely, speak nicely, and try to calmly overcome any kind of conflict that you have in getting your practice in. All right, that's all I have today. I forgot. You're going to have to look on Instagram because I forgot the thing I was giving away way over there. So this will be on Facebook. I'm going to do another one for YouTube. So if you follow my YouTube channel, I would appreciate it. It's Half the National Average YouTube. And I'm always posting stuff on that one that I nowhere else. So you can check stuff out and cruise through my channel there. Subscribe if you can. And then I'll do a shorter one on Instagram, and that's where I'll give my free thing away. Have a great day, you guys. I hope that you can tune in tomorrow, if not one day in the future. Have a great day.